So I have been asked time and time again, what books, Rory, dear Rory, should I be reading during a time of a breakup? And I've decided finally to release a video with my personal book recommendations. I will, of course, be naming some of the reading material that I find to be helpful in a time of a breakup. I'm almost done reading all of these books in their entirety, and I think that they're really helpful. Of course, I will include the links to all of the books that I'm going to mention down below. And let's get started. The first book is The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. The author is Mark Manson. The reason that I think this book is important, particularly when you're going through a breakup, is it reminds us of our priorities and what we need to be focusing on during times of hardship. It reminds us that ultimately life is suffering, but through that suffering we can transform into our best selves. And that's pretty much what I preach on the Love Chat regarding breakups. Breakups are suffering, and through our suffering, we can transform ourselves into who we want to be. One of the things I've been telling a lot of my coaching clients lately is that, if I didn't go through a breakup, you wouldn't have any idea who I am. You would have no idea about the Love Chat, and that just blows my mind. And so the subtle art of not giving an F is an important reminder that sometimes life's going to get you down. Here's some of the more positive ways to grow from the suffering that life has handed you, and we have a limited number of fucks to give, and so we should choose wisely what we give a fuck about. The next book on this wonderful list of reading is The 5 Love Languages. The author is Dr. Gary Chapman, and it is obviously about the 5 love languages, including but not limited to physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, and more. So this book gives us a really good understanding of the 5 love languages and how they apply to and around relationships. It discusses how we learn to accept love, but also how we prefer to give love. So perhaps I may give love by giving a lot of gifts, and that's how I express my attention, affection, appreciation for another person. However, the person may not accept a gift and think, this is how I want to be loved. They might feel as though acts of service or perhaps quality time is a much more effective way to show them love. And so this book is a wonderful overlook on the different love languages and how we can learn to better give our partner their love language and perhaps even determine what their love language is. I think this is a wonderful book, particularly if you're trying to get better and better at relationships and really communicate your love more effectively. Definitely recommend. This should be on your reading list. Number 3 is a book called Attached, and this is by a psychiatrist and neuroscientist, Amir Levine, and Rachel S. Heller, who is an educational psychologist. Attached discusses the attachment styles, which you and I know to be the avoidant attachment style, the anxious attachment style, and the secure attachment style. This book discusses each and why they are the way that they are. It discusses the time when you were a baby, growing up, learning to attach to your caregivers. Additionally, this book discusses how to go about changing or fixing or at least pointing yourself in the direction of a different attachment style. For example, if you are a very avoidant person and you like to minimize closeness because it feels as though you're giving up your independence, this book will help you make your way to a more secure attachment style where you feel more free to give love and receive love. This is a great book. I highly recommend it. Personally, I listened to the audiobook instead of reading the actual book, and it was done by Penguin Media, which is a favorite of mine. They do really well-produced books, and they pick really great voice actors and actresses for this, so that's just how I chose to absorb this book. However, they do come in hardcover, softcover, etc. So, definitely recommend Attached. Next is Love Is Not Enough, and this is by a wonderful author who also made The Subtle Art, Mark Manson. This book was definitely different. The setup is very, very different. You basically follow 5 people over the course of 6 months as they go through all of these different romantic situations, and this book is more like a blog or a podcast. It's interesting that they get to discuss all of the different details and things that derail intimacy, and basically what happens in this book is you learn that it's important to love yourself first, and very much follows the mentality that I take when I'm creating love chat videos, and it talks a lot about self-development, why saying no and having boundaries in relationships is important, and ultimately how love inside of a relationship is not enough to maintain a relationship. There also has to be an active choice, a decision to love. Knowing that sometimes you're going to wake up and look at your partner and feel nothing for them, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just a thing. And it only means what we make of it. and that sometimes love is a decision. You're not always going to feel the fluffy feelings that you think you're supposed to feel, that the movies or the songs told you that you were going to feel. This book is a realistic and human take on the reality of relationships, and I think that that is a wake-up call that we all need from time to time. So I highly recommend it. Pretty much anything from Mark Manson I recommend, especially for those of you who've enjoyed the subtle art. This will be a book you want to pick up. The next book is an interesting one, and I didn't quite know how to pitch it, so I brought in a special guest who could pitch it for me. The stage is yours, DG.
I wrote Breaking Down Breakups so that you could have an all-in-one comprehensive guide for any situation that you're going through post-breakup. Maybe you just want to heal and move on. Maybe you want to understand yourself and your dating history better. Maybe you want to understand the relationship better, or your breakup even better. Or you're back in contact with your ex and you're looking for useful tips in terms of reconciliation and getting back together. It's 12 chapters, 50,000 words, and about 230 pages long. And it's basically a useful resource that you can have of advice that I would give or what I've seen through thousands of breakup situations through my own personal email advice.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the legend, the Dating Guy. Dating Guy, for those of you who do not know, is a fellow YouTuber who discusses dating and relationships. He has a fantastic channel that you should definitely go check out. I will include the link to his channel and his book below. Highly recommend. He's very straightforward, very no nonsense, and I highly recommend this channel and this book if you are going through a breakup. The next book on this list is a wonderful book called Meditations. This is by the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, and for those of you who have followed me or watched any of my videos, you know that I'm a huge proponent of Stoicism, which I think has lessons to teach all of us about accepting what's been given to us in our life, learning to grit and bear it and rise above it and use it to reinforce ourselves and reinforce our character and grow into more than we are. Meditations is a wonderful, wonderful book and practicing Stoicism and the philosophies that follow Stoicism, particularly learning to accept what's been given to us and not to waste the time that we have been given. You are more than the sum of your parts, and you can decide who you want to be, and Stoicism and this book empower me to do just that. The last book on our list is another book on Stoicism by the author Ryan Holiday, who basically takes Stoicism and applies it to our daily life. Whereas Meditations was written for a different time, the author Ryan Holiday and his book, The Obstacle is the Way, takes a very modern spin on many of these Stoic philosophies and applies them to things like breakups and suffering and obstacles that will be tossed in our way, as the title suggests, and how to overcome them, and how obstacles are actually the very thing that makes us grow and become stronger. The link to all of these books has been included down below in the description, as well as the Dating Guy's channel. And I think that each of these books gives us something different to focus on and something different to learn. Not every book you're going to find useful is going to say breakups in it, but many of them will. So, I now turn to the floor and ask, what books have you found useful during your breakup? Why did you find them useful? And ultimately, do you recommend the book to someone who's going through a breakup, or maybe even it's a book about dating? I'm looking forward to hearing your answers so I have some new material I can pick up. And that way, together as a community, we can learn and grow and share knowledge, and isn't that what a community is ultimately about? Now, many people have asked when the audiobook version of my book, Until Next Time, is coming out, and I do promise that that's coming out soon. The reason for the holdup was that I was hiring an audio technician, and I was actually renting out a building that we were going to use to produce all of the future Love Chat videos and kind of up the quality, including the microphone and perhaps even video. But the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, saw that that production was all going to get slowed down. So I could produce a video using this microphone, but the reality is there's a lot of noise, and it's not going to be a professional recording. And I would really rather give you guys a quality product that I am proud of rather than a rushed product. So in the meantime, of course, if you like my book, let me know down below. And for those of you who don't know, I do have a book. It's on Amazon. It is called Until Next Time. And it's more of a conversation than it is a book. So you should read this as though it is a script, which I find much easier when we're talking in terms of a conversation, in terms of a dialogue to be opened up. That way, it feels more like I'm talking to you rather than you're reading a book of my thoughts. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. And there are some wonderful book suggestions. And like I said, let me know down below what books worked for you, and that's all I had for today. If you found my video helpful, I'd be very grateful if you'd subscribe and hit like. Please leave a comment down below and tell me what you thought of these books and what books you would recommend, and what video topics you might like to see in a future video. If you'd like 90 additional videos of The Love Chat, just visit my Patreon. Patreon.com/TheLoveChat. I'll talk to you all next time.